Welcome to Golden Moral Stories, where every tale touches your heart and teaches a lesson for life. Today's story is The House with the Blue Door. Let's begin. On the corner of Harbor Street and Fisherman S. Lane stood a narrow brick building with a bright blue door. In the mornings, it smelled of warm bread and cinnamon. By afternoon, of coffee and laughter. People simply called it the Blue Door. It belonged to Maya, a woman with clear eyes, quick hands, and a habit of giving the best seat to whoever looked most tired. The sign inside read, "Pay with money or a promise. Kindness accepted here." Maya kept a battered notebook under the counter, its pages soft from being turned. On the cover, written in silver ink, was the kindness ledger. If someone couldn't pay today, they could pay later, or write down a small kindness they promised to do for someone else. No one left hungry. On a typical Tuesday, the cafe filled with the town's hum. Mr. Patel, the retired schoolteacher, read the newspaper aloud to anyone who'd listen. Alma, a night shift nurse, came for oatmeal and a chair that forgave her tired back. Finn, a busker with a scuffed guitar, played gentle tunes by the window and sometimes paid for breakfast by singing a song. A teenage girl named Zoe drew boats and birds on napkins. She was saving up for art school, which felt as far away as summer during winter. When a stranger hesitated at the menu, Maya would say, "Sit first, decide later." Warmth before worry. That morning, a young father counted coins and shook his head. "Stop counting." Maya smiled, sliding a bowl of soup toward him. "Put your name in the ledger. Promise something kind." "That's the price," he wrote. "I will fix my elderly neighbor's broken fence this week." Maya nodded, as if he'd handed her a crisp bill. Perfect. At noon, a sharp-suited man swept in, more weather than person. Mr. Calder, owner of several buildings on Harbor Street, including Maya's. He glanced at the sign, frowned at the ledger, then tapped his watch. "You're behind on rent," he said. "This charity cafe won't pay your bills." "It pays in other ways," Maya answered, polite as a folded napkin. "People settle their promises. It just takes time." Calder's mouth twisted. "Time is precisely what you're running out of. You have 30 days. He left as a gust, and with him went the room's warmth for a moment. Then Finn strummed a brighter chord. Alma raised her spoon like a toast, and the cafe remembered itself. A tourist left his wallet on the counter. Inside were cards, cash, a photo of a child missing 2 front teeth. Maya ran into the drizzle, found him half a block away, and returned it. "You didn't even check the cash," he said, stunned. Maya shrugged. "It's not my story." He laughed softly and pressed a card into her hand. "If you ever need anything, call Daniel Rowan." The name meant nothing to Maya, so the card slid into a jar with rubber bands and pencils. By week's end, the radio repeated a warning. A winter storm, heavier than the town had seen in years. People bought bread and batteries. The harbor men lashed down boats in hopes. Zoe lingered at the counter. "If the power goes out, will you still open?" "We have a gas stove," Maya said. "This blue door doesn't close in the dark." The ledger's pages rustled as if agreeing. A man stepped in, cheeks raw from cold, clothes too thin for winter. He stared at the floor, practicing invisibility. Maya brought a bowl, a wool blanket, and without asking her father's old coat from the hook. "You look like black coffee," she said, "but you're getting tea. It's kinder." He smiled without his teeth. "Name's Eli." "Eli," Maya repeated, as if adding him to a private list. "Sit by the heaters. They think they're dragons." Eli ate slowly, as if trusting each spoonful after a long argument with hunger. Before he slept in the corner chair, he wrote in tiny, careful letters, "I will shovel the steps for 3 houses after the storm." Maya touched the ink. "A promise is a kind of key," she murmured. "It opens the next good thing." The storm came with a personality opinionated, dramatic, uninterested in schedules. Snow pushed itself into corners, stacked itself proudly on windowsills, and swallowed the street in clean silence. By sunset, the town had slipped under a white quilt. Then the lights blinked, twice, and went out. In the sudden dark, someone gasped. "It's all right," Maya said. "We practiced for this." She lit a row of candles, then the gas stove. The room warmed with flame light. The kettle sang like a bird who'd seen winter before and chose to sing anyway. Neighbors drifted in, guided by the glow. A mother with a baby and no hot water. 2 fishermen with numb hands. Elma, off duty but worried about her clinic patients who needed warm drinks more than sympathy. Maya moved like a quiet conductor. Finn, music. Alma, tea. Triage. Eli, can you clear the step? We'll get drifts. Eli nodded and disappeared into the snow with a shovel that had been a broom until Finn found a better use for it. As night piled up, the cafe turned into a small city of warmth. People charged phones off a battery pack, held them like tiny suns. Children napped under coats. The ledger stayed open on the counter. It gathered promises like snowflakes. "I'll deliver soup to Mrs. Green. I'll check on the cats at the shelter. I'll bring my generator here in the morning." Zoe drew a lantern on a napkin and taped it to the window. "So people know the light is real," she said. Near midnight, the blue door shook. Eli opened it to find Mr. Calder, hair silvered with snow, pride damp at the edges. "My car, stuck," he said, teeth chattering. "Phone dead." Maya set a bowl in front of him without ceremony. "Eat first." He looked at the ledger. "You feed people who can't pay. How do you stay open?" "People pay," Maya said, pouring tea. "Some with money, some with repair work, some with the promise of looking out for someone else. Kindness compounds." Calder stared at the flames, listening to Finn's guitar and the soft talk of tired neighbors, a sound he didn't remember liking until now. A man hurried in, coat unzipped, panic blinking in his eyes. "My wife, she's in labor. We live 2 blocks up." Alma stood. "We can help. We need light, blankets, and steady feet." Maya nodded, as if this had been scheduled. "We make a human chain. No one slips alone." They wrapped scarves, took hands, and stepped into the blue-black night. Candles and lantern jars bobbed like planets. Their boots found a rhythm. Inside the small apartment, the mother's breath was a lighthouse steady in the storm. Alma took the lead. Finn kept time with a whispering lullaby. The baby arrived with a loud protest against winter and then a sigh, the sound of someone agreeing to the world. They named her Harbor because she arrived when the town needed a safe place. Back at the cafe, the candles burned lower. Mr. Calder stood, hovered, then began quietly bussing tables, wiping them with careful hands as if the wood might bruise. Maya watched without comment. Some transformations need privacy to be true. When the last child finally slept, Maya stepped outside. The storm had softened, the street a hush of white. Through the window, she saw her life gathered by that ledger, promises like stepping stones leading out of the door and into the town. Morning arrived shyly. Smoke lifted from chimneys. The sky remembered blue. Neighbors emerged like bears from caves, blinking at the gentle light. Eli had kept his promise, 3 houses shoveled and a path to the clinic. He shrugged when thanked. A promise is a promise. The generator arrived on a small sled, coaxed along by 2 teenagers who winked at Zoe and pretended they weren't winded. Mr. Calder stood by the counter, folding napkins into neat wings. "How much do I owe for last night?" Maya pointed at the ledger. "Write something honest." He hesitated, then wrote slowly, as if each letter was a confession. "I will forgive this month's rent for every tenant on Harbor Street, and I will match donations to the community pantry for the winter." He closed the pen with a click that sounded like a choice. By noon, the blue door swung open and shut like a heartbeat. People queued not only for soup, but to sign the ledger. "I'll fix Maya's wobbly shelf. I'll teach free guitar on Saturdays. Free haircuts on Sunday at my shop. I'll read to the kids at the clinic." Zoe taped a new drawing on the window, 2 hands passing a small flame that did not get smaller, only brighter. While looking for extra tea, Maya found a business card in the pen jar. Daniel Rowan. She nearly laughed by then. The crisis had passed. Still, she dialed. Hours later, a van pulled up. A camera crew, Daniel Rowan himself, warmer than his glossy suit suggested. "I run a regional foundation," he said. "We fund small places with large hearts. A tourist told me about a blue door and a ledger of promises." He listened, not interrupting, as Maya described that night. He read the ledger like a sacred text. He ate soup, eyes bright. The next week, a grant arrived enough to repair the cafe, buy a commercial stove, and seed a year-round pantry. Maya's hands shook when she held the letter. She put it under the salt shaker so it wouldn't fly away. Spring came early that year, or maybe kindness made it feel so. Harbor Street painted shutters, mended roofs, and shared ladders. The barber cut hair on the sidewalk. The tailor patched elbows and charged in stories. Mr. Patel started a reading hour. Alma ran a health corner every Tuesday. Finn taught chords to anyone with fingers. Eli organized a snow team for next winter and taped lists inside coat closets across the neighborhood. Mr. Calder, in a plain jacket he seemed to be getting used to, attended a neighborhood meeting, and strangest of all, listened more than he spoke. One evening, when the cafe had emptied and the floor smelled of lemon and flour, Mr. Calder lingered. "My wife loved places like this," he said softly. "We dreamed of opening one when we were young. She got sick. I learned to count money and forgot to count anything else." Maya did not hurry the silence. "You changed when it mattered," she said. "That's what counts now." He nodded. "I want to help the ledger grow. Quietly, no plaques." Maya smiled. "Quiet kindness is our specialty." On the storm's anniversary, the town threw a festival of small lights. Every promise completed each month earned a matchbook tied with ribbon. At dusk, they lit them safe lanterns in jars, lines of tea lights along the curb, a string of tiny warm stars above the blue door. Maya spoke just once. "We learned that night that we belong to one another. We don't need a storm to remember." They placed the ledger on a stand and invited visitors to sign. Travelers wrote in many languages. One simply drew a heart and an arrow pointing forward. Months later, not with a storm but with bills and quiet worry, trouble returned. A delivery truck broke down. Flour prices jumped. A pipe protested. The cafe did not panic. The ledger turned pages. A plumber wrote, "Fix pipe no charge." The grocer wrote, "Flour, at cost, till summer." Finn busked longer. Zoe sold prints of her lantern drawing. They vanished faster than napkins at lunch. Maya learned to accept help as easily as she gave it. That, too, was kindness. A young mother arrived, counting coins. Maya recognized to look part hunger, part apology. "Sit," Maya said, "and let the chair do its job." The woman hesitated at the ledger. "I don't know what I can promise. I have so little." Maya slid the book closer. "Promise something small. Small is enough." The woman wrote with a trembling hand, "I will smile at every person I pass today." When she left, the cafe felt strangely brighter. Mr. Patel laughed at a joke that wasn't very good. Alma hummed. Even the kettle whistled in a happier key. Kindness, it turned out, didn't have to be loud to be large. Years passed. The blue paint on the door needed fresh coats now and then. People fought to do it for free. The sign inside never changed. Pay with money or a promise. Zoe left for art school, then came back with new colors. Finn recorded an album dedicated to Harbor Street. Alma trained younger nurses to listen with both ears. Eli ran the snow team like an orchestra and taught kids the useful art of showing up. Mr. Calder grew older in public in the best way, waving before anyone waved at him, carrying boxes he once would have ignored, writing checks from a quieter place in his chest. And Maya. She kept the kettle singing and the ledger open. When her hands ached, others stirred the soup. When her voice dimmed, others welcomed at the door. She would sometimes sit and watch the life she had made, the way a gardener watches spring do what spring was always going to do if someone remembered to plant, water, and wait. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Moral Stories, and press the bell icon so you never miss a heart-touching tale. See you in our next video.